Hello, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Spirited Art Studio. Once again, it's Monday night and at 7 o'clock, and so we're starting up again. My name is Laura, and I'm a professional art therapist and artistic director of the Spirited Art Studio program. We've taken this program online as a way to support each other during this time where we've had to be socially distancing and isolating and not being able to be together in our normal gathering place, which is in the basement of the Robertson Wesley United Church. Instead, we've gone onto our virtual studio, and we are live here in my pop-up studio, which is really on my kitchen table at home. So welcome and thank you for joining us. And I'm just going to take a look. I'm hoping that I can see also the live streaming on my desktop here, so that I can then respond to any of your people who are saying hello. So there we go. So it looks like there's a little bit of a delay. So I'm not going to see your comments immediately, but please feel free to comment and interject with any ideas or thoughts, and let's have a conversation tonight. So as you may have seen, I've posted a few videos, and these past ones are also on Monday nights at 7 and Wednesday afternoons at 1:30. And I've also typically post photos of a directive that I have planned for the evening, just for a form of an artistic, creative idea that we can work on together. So tonight we are going to be working on these geodes, and I'll just show you this one that I've got that is still in the process of drying. And so there is salt that is falling off it. So this inspiration came from my niece, Zoe. And Zoe, I hope you're watching, and thank you so much for your inspiration and ideas. And I have posted a photo of artwork by Zoe of her geode, which these are called geodes. So they're rock formations. So I am only seeing my own responses, and unfortunately not your comments. So I'm just going to take a few moments to just see if I can figure this out, the technical. Yeah, it's not allowing me to see your comments, so I apologize, everybody, for that. So thank you for being here again. And as I was saying, we're working on geodes tonight, and geodes are rock formations. They are rocks that are hollow in the center, except that there's crystal formations in them that make them really beautiful when they're open. So Zoe gave me this idea, and I thought it was just a really fun idea to use watercolor paint and salt, and the salt has that sort of crystallizing effect, so it'll be fun to sort of give this our own geode an interesting look. So, yeah, I'm kind of distracted because I can't see your... So, hello Marie, hello Michelle, good to see you. Thanks for being here. I'm just trying to see, I set it up earlier today and I was able to see everybody's comments when we did a little test run. And now, just to explain, now I'm not seeing them. Oh. So I'm just going to shut down the screen because it's really distracting and it's not working as I'd hoped. So we'll just carry on with our live studio, and I will look at your comments and feedback and interactions. And please interact with each other's comments and say hi to each other. Those of you who know each other, that would be great. And I will just carry on with the plan for the night. So, as I was saying, these geodes are really interesting rock formations that have crystals. They look like ordinary rocks on the outside. You pick them up, you can tell that they're not solid because they don't weigh as you would think that a solid rock would weigh. You open them and they're partly hollow but also filled with crystals. And there are different kinds of crystal formations, and if you want to know more about them, you can always Google and just discover more information about these. And one in particular is geode is amethyst geodes. I really like amethysts. So my next geode is going to be purple colors, just imagining that I'm creating an amethyst geode. And so I'm just going to do sort of a step-by-step demo of how to do this and create this geode. But first I was just thinking of a little bit of a metaphor that I kind of liked about geodes, and that the beauty of the rock that is inside, outside it looks like, you know, any other ordinary rock. You open it up and it has these beautiful crystals. And I was thinking about how during this time when we're staying inside our homes and we're isolating from others and we need to have the social distancing, so just sort of thinking about intrinsic motivation. And so how are we managing right now? How are you motivated during this time isolation and social distancing. And I just thought it would be good to just put sort of a positive reframing on this and look at how we can be intrinsically motivated. So I guess the question I have for you right now is just think of what is motivating you just to stay positive during this time, and to have hope and see that we're going to get through this, and give that some thought. I was reading, we can look on different things on Google. There's so much information out there, and looking at the two different ways we can be motivated, in extrinsically. So what motivates us, in our outer world? How are we motivated extrinsically? It is doing something because we're rewarded in our environment. So, for example, working, our salary, right? We work, so we're extrinsically motivated by our environment. We work so that we get paid, we're rewarded for our work. So that is extrinsic motivation. What is even more important, though, is intrinsic motivation. What motivates you internally? What can keep us going? So we're thinking about what is the difference. So intrinsic motivation is doing something because you enjoy it, doing something because you find it intriguing, and you're engaged and focused. And so it's different than being extrinsically motivated and rewarded for your efforts. It's something you're doing for yourself. It's something that you're actively engaged with because you enjoy doing it. So I just wrote some notes here about this, and so an example would be even just creating art. We create it just because we enjoy the creative process, and not necessarily for any external reward or benefit. And so they're saying now that being intrinsically motivated is a more effective way to be motivated, even at work. So there's 3 key factors for being this kind of motivation, internal motivation. So it gives us autonomy. It helps us to feel free to be creative and innovative. The second thing is mastery. We're motivated to learn new skills and improve on our skills and practice our skills and reach our full potential. So this is, again, another intrinsic motivation. So the third factor of motivation, this kind of intrinsic motivation, would be purpose. Seeing the bigger picture and understanding a bigger purpose for what you're doing and why you're doing it. So then it helps you to be more engaged and therefore more productive. So I guess I was kind of stumbling over my words there, but I hope you kind of get the picture of what I'm generally saying about these two different kinds of motivations. I am facilitating this community-based virtual art studio right now because I am intrinsically motivated. I have a belief that we all need this connection. We need to reach out and feel supported by connecting with friends that we know in this community we have, and be creative together. And so I guess I'm kind of reaching outside of my comfort zone and doing this live sort of presentation because for me, I think it's so important right now when we're physically isolated to find connection online this way. I know for me it's helpful to see you joining me and saying hello. It means a lot to me as I'm been isolated going into the 7th week like others of you, and we all have different situations. Some of you have children at home and a whole family at home and different sorts of responsibilities. Some are working from home, and other of us are single, living alone, and so all of these different kinds of situations present different kinds of concerns, but all of us are, I guess, faced with a new normal and how to find a way to work within the new normal and just find ways to cope, healthy ways to cope in these new situations. So this is my part. This is what I'm doing, and so thank you for those of you who are joining in and who support this idea and understand how this can be beneficial for yourself and others to connect in this way on this live streaming of this creativity and connection. So thank you again and welcome. And now we're going to get on with the process of creating this is now dry. So this is a geode, and it is or I guess it's an artistic rendering of one. It's using watercolors. So if you have some watercolors and some salt, salt helps to create the crystallizing effect that lends itself to make the artwork look like a crystal formation inside the rock, similar to a geode. So that is the idea for the evening. And so I'm just going to sort of go step by step and show you how I made that. And I'm hoping that this second geode that I'm making, which is going to be purple to make it look like amethyst crystals, I'm hoping that I can just improve on it a little bit. Again, the one that I posted online by Zoe, that is by my niece, and it's her inspiration for our artwork for the evening. So thanks again, Zoe. And so I'm going to get started. And the first thing I'm going to do is just outline the outer edge of the rock, which would be, if you were taking a slice through it, we'd show the outer edge as just the dark rock formation. Typically they can be lava rocks, so you imagine this dark black stone edge all around the edges. So I'm just going to take a black Sharpie, and first of all I'll show you how I penciled it in. I just sort of began with a shape, and then I drew some more contours and drew a few more shapes within the outside shape, and then another one and another one. So there are altogether 4 sort of contours in the shape. And that is just with a pencil. And so now I'm going to take a black Sharpie, and I'm going to outline the shape. And I'm just using a Sharpie just so that when I go to do the watercolor, I know that this thick outer sort of crust of the stone will not bleed into the watercolor. So I'm going along the inside of this stone crust. I call it a crust. It's just the outer edge. So now I just have these two lines formed like that, and I just decided I'm just going to quickly shade it in with a pencil. Just because I really want to define that part of the rock as well, that sort of hard black exterior that looks like any other stone, and is kind of disguising the beautiful crystals that are on the inside. So I kind of find that is really beautiful and interesting, that these rocks are formed this way, with all the beauty hidden inside. And the crystals are formed by minerals slowly crystallizing on the inside of the hollow rocks. And rocks are hollow because they may be originally bubbles in lava or some other kind of formation of a hollow rock. So, just shading in that outer edge. So that you can see, I'll just quickly show you, just shading it in. So Zoe, who inspired me to do this geo tonight, she was inspired by an idea on Pinterest. And the idea on Pinterest, I think the whole rock formation was painted. But I decided to form this outer edge with other media, this Sharpie and graphite, just so that it would definitely have a different look than the rest of the rock. So I'm also going to just rub the graphite a little bit, smudge it. And again, I just want to really emphasize this outer edge of the geode by doing this. So there you have it. That's the outer part before I begin painting the rock. And so for the inside of the rock, I'm going to use a purple watercolor paint, and I'm again using these palettes that come in a pile of colors that screw together and make the palettes very portable, so you can take them outdoors. And I just really like these, find them handy and useful, take them to different workshops, and they are available at different art stores, online or in person when they're open and we can get back to them. So, I'm going to use purple, and I just put it away, so now I'm going to get it back out. Purple because I really love amethysts, and amethysts come from this type of formation of geode. So I found that really fun new information. So I'm going to create my own amethyst geode, and I'm going to paint. So a few sessions ago I was talking about watercolor technique called wet on wet. So it's really putting paint on top of a surface that is already wet with water. So what I'm doing right now then is I'm painting the surface with water on this first outer ring of the geode. So I'm just painting around the band of the outer ring of this rock with just plain water. I want to make sure the surface is really good and wet so that the effect works best that way. And so you have to work quickly so that the whole surface is wet enough so that when you add more, when you go to add the color, it will nicely have an effect of just nicely bleeding into the paint. Bleeding in the paint color pigment, bleeding into the water. So I'm just going to get my brush full with the pigment, the purple color, and I'm just going to lay it down on the outer edge of the water, and then just allow it to seep into the paint. Like this. And so I'm just going to keep adding a little more to slowly allow it to seep into the water, the colors seep into the water. So I hope you're able to see this okay, and I'm just going to lift it up in a minute and just show you closely what's happening. And now I've got the outer edge of the crystal formation started with this wet on wet watercolor technique. And now I'll just quickly show you, and then I'm going to add the salt. So this is how it looks so far. And now I'm going to add salt to the wet on wet colors. these salt crystals form the effect that the crystals would form. So it creates a unique watercolor effect. Some of you may be familiar with this watercolor technique of adding salt to the water. So this, in this case, we're using it specifically to show a crystallized form of a geode. So now I'm going to go to the most inside ring contour line, I guess, and I'm going to paint it the darkest color. So I'm just going to go ahead with the purple paint and paint it right in, fairly dark. Okey-doke. Okay, and I'm just going to add a little bit more water just to make sure it's well saturated, so that when I add the salt, which I'm going to do right now, the salt will crystallize and create the effect that we want on this dark paint as well. So now I'm just adding salt to that area. So I'll just give you a close-up of how it's looking now with the salt on there. And I'm just going to tip it up slightly and hope that the salt doesn't all roll off. And I'm hoping that you can see it okay. So now I'm going to go ahead with the third contour line, which is inside the first two. And so I'm going to just move some of the salt pieces out of my way to do that. And I'm going to do the wet on wet watercolor technique again for this third contour. And I'm also again using the purple color paint, the amethyst color that I'm wanting. So, oh, but I forgot that I first of all wanted to use the wet on wet technique, so I'm going to add water first, just the plain water. So I'm happy to see that I've got some people joining me tonight. Thank you for being here. I'm glad to see also that the weather has cleared up a bit. It was quite a stormy day. Now it's nice and peaceful and quiet. So I've got this water on the page now. And so I'm now going to add the pigment, the purple color, just to the outer edge of the water, and allow it to slowly bleed into the inside. So this wet on wet technique is taking on a life of its own. So it just flows into the water as I add the color. So now while I'm allowing that water to be there, I'm going to add the salt. So now we've got the salt in on that contour as well. And I'll just hold this up and show you how it's looking. Okay, and now I'm just going to add a little bit more color to these white spaces, and I'm just going to move the salt out of the way first so that I can paint in those areas evenly as possible. And I'm not going to dip my brush into the paint. I'm just going to use this paint water that I have here, and I'm just going to brush that color into the paint. And I'm noticing that although it's fairly dark in this tub, it's not showing up that well on the paper, so I am going to add extra paint to the water. So there we go. It's a little bit tedious because we're now getting our brush salty, but the salt can dissolve, and so you can just dip the brush into the paint and into the water and back onto the paper and just work it around and slowly create the effect of this final lighter color of purple. And we want to try and keep the three contours separate so they don't all get combined into one, so that it gives more of the effect of the geode. So the idea would be to wait a little bit longer between doing each contour and making sure that it's good and dry before you go back into it, and that would help keeping blending each ring into the next. But I'm just continuing on with it so that you're not waiting. So, and you'll still get the basic idea. But I think I'm going to set the brush down for a minute after I do this coat, or this layer, I guess, and add a little bit more salt. And that's how it's looking now. Oh, thank you for the likes and the hearts. That's so appreciated. And I'm going to do now the final coat. I'm just going to say hello. See who's here. Hello, Shell. Hello, Doug. Hello, Joy. Thank you. So nice to see you. And I'm going to add this final coat. And careful not to get it too dark so that we can see the difference between the different contours, which are actually just the different layers of crystals in the geode. Sort of an abstract impression, I guess you would say, of the geode. And it would be fun now to just go and take a look online of photographs of geodes. So geode is Geode, if you aren't familiar with that term. So rock formations with crystals on the interior. And I'm just going to add a little bit more salt. And a little more of the larger granules. So this is sea salt. And there you go. That is my amethyst geode. So I hope you enjoyed watching the demo and listening to the discussion about intrinsic motivation and the beauty that can result, the creativity and innovation that comes from being intrinsically motivated, that teachers and educators and people who are looking for how to motivate their employees in large corporations is really through helping people to be intrinsically motivated so that the circumstances, reward, other external factors that can change quickly in our environment, can also just not be as motivating as finding the motivation from inside. So, for example, we can be rewarded for things that we need to do that we don't like doing, but things that we need to find that we're passionate about. Those are the things that are important, the things that give us our ability to be creative and innovative and have autonomy over that. Those are the things that are important to find from our intrinsic motivation. And I'm hoping that some of these creative ideas that we're doing online together in the Spirited Art Studio are helping to just keep us motivated and inspiring us to be creative and innovative in our homes with artistic ideas that engage us in finding something that is, even if in the moment, can take us away from some of the worries that might be happening right now. So I hope you enjoyed the evening with me here tonight, and enjoy the rest of your evening, and give this geode a try. And I would love to see some of your art. Any art that you're doing is welcome. I would love to see you posted on. We have a private Spirited Arts page that you can post your work on, or you're welcome to post it on our main page that this live stream is on right now. Or you're also welcome to send me an email. It's spirithedartstudio@rwuc.org. Love to hear from you. So thanks again, everybody, and we'll see you Wednesday at 1:30. Bye.